because it's a lot easier to get by that way. See, if you hate something, hate iniquity, that requires you to stand up and be counted and be seen. And that requires a lot of fortitude on your own part. So to love righteousness and hate iniquity is another important life combination for being able to live a life of great intention.
Let's read John chapter 15, verses 9 and 12. As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you.
So Jesus, in his preaching, in his teaching, spent a lot of time talking about love. And especially at the end of his life. He had these precious few hours with his followers. And he spent a lot of time talking about God's love for them, their love for each other, and his love for them. And he was helping them to put in perspective they were about to undergo a difficult trial. And he's saying, you got to frame it the right way to be able to get through it. And so important admonitions here. Love one another as I have loved you. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. He's transferring. It's not like he's making this up. He's saying, I received this kind of benevolent care from God, and I am passing it on to you, and I expect you to pass it on to those around you.
Here's another important one, Ephesians 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
Now, see, again, in that scripture, that word love, husbands love your wives. What does that word mean? It's the same benevolence, caring that we're talking about. It is far greater than, far beyond the physical attraction thing, which is important.
The selfless part really comes out there.
And that's what this is talking about. You're right. That it's the selfless part that is important. So those scriptures that we just talked about are using that word for that agape word, which is that selfless love. Let's take a look at a few scriptures now, just in contrast and comparison, that use the words, the Philadelphia word, the brotherly love word.
Romans 12, verse 10, be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another.
All right, so be fraternal one to another. Be kindly affectionate. That's another way to say it. Be fraternal. In other words, take good care of each other. And that's appropriate. That's important. But that's a part of it.
Hebrews 13:1, let brotherly love continue.
And again, let that fraternal attachment, that bonding that you establish between one another continue and grow, because that's your obligation one to another.
1 Peter 3:8, finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren. Be pitiful. Be courteous.
Having compassion one of another. You know, that's another thing that's missing in our world, is compassion. Just, where did compassion go anyway? I mean, when did it exit without us seeing? How did this happen? We live in a world that is unfortunately just lacks that ability to feel for others. Because it's so self-centered. Yeah. And maybe that's it. Compassion exited when self-centeredness entered. There's not room for both. And so that's where we are. And unfortunately, a scripture like this is so simple. Be ye all of one mind. Have compassion one for another. Love as brethren. How easy is that to say? But how difficult, perhaps, is that to do?
John 13, verses 34 and 35. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. See, now this is interesting, because this is in the same general context of Jesus preparing for his crucifixion, and he's talking about loving one another, that fraternal love here. And then later on he talks about, as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you, you ought to love one another. He talks about it on the other level. So he's saying you have to have both of those things. That bonding, that fellowship. And, oftentimes in a world like this, again, fellowship doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. But, you think about a team, and a team that really works together. I think about the Patriots when they were winning Super Bowls. Oh, yeah. They had that fraternal attachment. The team would never be introduced as individuals. You always hear the starting lineups, and the guy runs out and everybody cheers. Well, it's, ladies and gentlemen, here are the New England Patriots. Yep. And the team would come out. And the message was, we are
the Patriots. One of us doesn't make the team. All of us do. That's what Jesus is talking. Now, he's not talking about the Patriots, but he's talking about that idea of bonding together as a unit to be able to move forward.
Let's read Romans chapter 12, verse 9. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good.
And again, that's another framing of what we talked about earlier of loving righteousness and hating iniquity. It's a very important process. It's not enough to just love righteousness. That's good. It's a great start, but it's not enough. It says you've got to abhor that which is evil. Things that are evil have to turn our stomach. They have to make us act because they are contrary. Now, it doesn't say to hate those who perpetuate the evil, but it says to hate the actual evil. Hate the sin, not the sinner, kind of a thing.
Rick, the last one on brotherly love, 2 Corinthians 2, verse 4. For out of much affliction and anguish of heart I wrote unto you with many tears, not that you shall be grieved, but that you might know the love which I have more abundantly unto you. And
again, that word here is the same word, that brotherly love, that affection, that fraternal bonding together, that brotherhood that says we're walking the same path together. See, that is just an important building block to be able to get to the point of the love that gives without any need or thought of receiving. You can't, to be complete, you can't have one without the other. I guess that's what we're trying to say here. That's what we're trying to get to. And folks, if you have a thought, give us a call at 860-442-6102. That's 442-6102. Jonathan, actually, it's a couple minutes early. Why don't we do the break now, because the next scriptures we're going to get into are a little bit longer and a little bit more detailed. So, Fred, let's do that. Let's go to the break. Folks, again, we're talking about love, but we want to frame love in a much broader perspective than perhaps we've given it credit for.
This is Jonathan and Rick with Christian Questions on News Talk 102.3 FM WXLM. What does love accomplish? Stay with us.